Hi, welcome back to Healing Hearts and Honest Conversations. I'm Veronica,
I'm Maria.
and today we're going to do episode 5. And episode 5, we're going to talk about red flags, green flags.
Yes.
And this is red flags, green flags with like relationships, just in general, dating. And hopefully, you guys will get a kick out of this. Or also notice that those also line up with your red flags and green flags. So, one of the what should we start with? Red flags are so easy to say, and the green flags not so easy.
Okay, so we'll start with personal experience red flag.
Okay.
We talked about this. So when they are talking about their ex, and then you just simply ask them the question, would you get back with them? And they say, absolutely. That would be a red flag.
Yes, absolutely red flag.
Why are we on this date then?
Yes, because he's waiting for the phone call.
Right, right.
That is a big red flag.
Yes.
All right. I would say, okay, maybe we could do like red and then a green and a red and a green. Okay, so a green flag would be for me, and I would say in terms of personal experience, a green flag would be that they let me know like how recent were they when they were with somebody and intimately.
Okay.
And not the details, but like, oh, the last time I was with the person intimately was XYZ, or my last serious relationship was 3 months ago, or whatever the case may be. I think that's a green flag.
Because
so
they just tell you, like, I was with someone 6 months ago.
Yeah, what if they say I was with someone yesterday? Okay, I take that back. Scratch.
Okay, but no, I think you bring up it is a green flag when they can say, like, I was with this person, it didn't work out. Here's what I learned, or here's what I worked on, or
oh, that sounds good.
Right.
All right.
Because usually someone like you've learned something from the people that you dated or didn't date or whatever, broke up with.
Yeah.
Like you learned something from the relationship.
Yes. So like, for example, for me, like if someone asked me like, okay, what would you do differently, or what did you take from being in a relationship with your ex? I would say, well, what I could do differently would be to make sure that I spend quality time with my partner, which is something that I lacked in my previous relationship, which because I was so focused on work and starting up my career and whatnot. Another thing would probably be communicate more.
Okay.
Like feelings. Like I think that would be a green flag for any person in any relationship, whether it's a friendship, coworker, dating. Is like, if there's something that bothers you about that person, letting them know, unless they're like this super hostile person, right? Because I think then we end up assuming things, and when we assume things that might not necessarily be correct, and that could either harm the relationship, or especially if you're working with somebody, it's like, do you really want to go to work with that person? Even though we're assuming, and then when we actually talk to the person, they're like, no, I never felt that way, or oh, I'm sorry if I came off that way. And so I think communication, if they're good with communication, and again, we're always a work in progress, and some things we might have a hard time communicating, and other things it might be a little easier. But I think at least giving the effort, I think that's a green flag.
Okay. So I would add to that also listening without, because I think sometimes when someone communicates their feelings, you automatically think it's that they feel that way because you did something wrong, and so like people get defensive, right?
Yeah.
So listening with like the intent to understand where the person's coming from, rather than taking it personal, which is really hard. Taking it personal that you did something wrong.
Yeah. Because then that brings up another thing, because if you're taking it wrong, that's a you thing, not a them thing.
Yes.
And we need to dig a little deeper into that.
Yes. So I would say along with communication, not just their feelings, but also like if they need something or want something.
Okay.
Whether it's they need something from me or anyone else, right? Or if they want something, even if it's not something I can give them, if like, let's say someone wants to change their job, or somebody like like when you talk about like, I want to take my trips, like that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like whether or not I can go, it doesn't matter. Like those are the things that make you happy, right? And so I think like being able to say, here are the things I want to do, or here are the things that I need, and the person not take offense to that. So both sides, being able to say it and then being able to hear it.
And being supportive, even if they're not the ones being invited.
Yeah.
Right? You're just having a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So it could be like you and I having a conversation of what's my bucket list, and then let's say, for example, you take offense because I didn't say I'm inviting you, but I also didn't say I was inviting anybody. I was just saying what my bucket list is, right?
Right.
So I think also talking about like what would you like to see in your future with a partner, right? And I think
that would be a green flag. Yeah,
that would be a green flag. I think a red flag would be like coming into a relationship and your person saying you spend too much time with your family. I think that was one you brought up, right?
Yeah.
And mine, from personal experience from before, like in my early 20s, late teens, was like once I was dating somebody, is like you couldn't hang out with your friends. I couldn't hang out with my friends.
Yes.
So that was kind of like the controlling piece.
Those are red flags. Yes. They won't let you like live your life, because I think you should be able to live your life. Like you live your life, I live my life. Then when we come together, we share that, like the stuff that makes us happy. And then and I think that's not just with intimate relationships, but like friendships, or even like at work, people come to work and they're like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Like you shouldn't feel bad because you weren't invited.
Right. Like, oh, that's cool. That sounds like fun. You know, maybe next time I'll get an invite or not. I mean, you could be passive aggressive, I guess. Wow, that would have been fun. I would have liked that too. I've had people that's done that to me, and I'm like, really? Yes, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, well, next time you can play the first round, right? And then I do have some friends that are like, hey, can I come too? And I'm like, okay. Right. Because they're not taking offense, and then they're like, hey, well, I would like to join. And if she says no, then because I had the one friend where I was like, you can't come. You can't come. I feel like a mean girl. I would say also like respecting that, even though like you have your own friends, and like you were saying, when you're with your friends, you have your friend time, you have your alone time, you have your partner time, that stuff. And then hopefully within that mix that you guys are able to hang out with each other's friends, or you know, like go with your partner to their friend's party or whatever, or families, right? The one thing that I think would be a red flag is like if they're saying like, we can't, I don't want you coming around my friends because XYZ. Yeah. Because they're the ones who are insecure. Right. Right? Or hiding something, right? They don't want the friends to say anything or slip and say something that they're not supposed to, right? Because there's only so much coaching you can do. And if there's alcohol involved, people tend to like slip up, and then diarrhea of the mouth comes out, and then you start, you know, finding things out. What would you say would be a green flag? A green flag.
I think like someone having a good relationship with their kids. Like I know like not everyone that we date will have like custody of their kids, but at least like, you know, show up when they're supposed to show up, like texting their kids, not, you know, because a couple of people were like, oh, I can't go out. I forgot I had my kids this weekend. How do you forget you have your kids this weekend? Like, how does someone forget it's their weekend for the kids? And then I have dated other guys that are like, okay, so this weekend I have my kids, next weekend I don't, the following weekend I do, and then like Wednesday they have a football game. Like they are on it in terms of like
the schedule.
Being a good participating in their kids' lives. And I think that's a green flag. I think when they are cut off from their kids, or the kids don't want to speak to them and stuff, that could be a red flag, because they get to see them at home. Like they've seen them in all their glory at home. Yeah. And so if they've made a decision not to speak to them, then that's kind of a red flag.
So, okay. So what about cheating?
I think if
And I'm not talking about like a serial cheater.
Right.
Kind of like the serial dater, not the serial cheater.
No, I think like somebody who let's say they're in an exclusive relationship and then they do cheat, which is, then I think as long as they're willing to admit that that's not a road they would go down again, then I think that that's okay.
Okay.
Like if you can admit it, and I think that's with anything. Like, I mean, there's several reasons why people get divorced, so or break up, whichever. But I think like going back to that thing about, can you be honest about why the relationship ended? Yeah. What did you learn? Would you do that again? I think that all.
Yeah. So I mean, per experience, I was like, whenever I would go on a date, that would be one of the things I would let them know as to why my relationship didn't work out. I mean, that was just one big thing, right, along with a couple other big things, was that I had cheated. But my partner at the time decided to forgive, and then we tried to work through it, which I think that was very big of him, because if the role was reversed, I don't think I could.
Right.
It's kind of like a previous video where I was like, I would be in an open relationship, but I don't want my partner to be in one. It's like, what Veronica wants is okay, but no, not for anybody else. But I need to not think of that way, right? Yeah. But I just think that just him personally, he's just a very forgiving person and a great person. So not knocking him, but in terms of like when I would approach, when I would date somebody and I would tell them this is the reason why, or one of the reasons why I believe that our relationship didn't work out, and what I was going to, what my plan is to do differently. Obviously, one, be, loyal and faithful and honest with the person, and then spend quality time, because those are things that, were lacking, right? And I feel like people do deserve second chances. Yeah. We may not agree with why they did it. Right. Because a lot of times I feel like the cheating is like, because the partner lacked something or didn't do something, when in reality it's not necessarily the partner, it's the person who made the choice. Right. They're the one who feels like there's a void, and how are they going to deal with that void? It's easier to blame. So that's and I think the red flag would be like when someone's quick to blame somebody else without taking accountability.
Yeah, about why the relationship didn't work.
No, just things in general.
Oh yeah, that would definitely be a red flag. Yes.
Or also, like, I had one guy that all he did was talk bad about his ex, and I'm like, okay, well, there's some unresolved stuff there. You're still upset. And it had been like 2 years, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay, somebody needs therapy.
Hey, but then there was yes, then there was the guy I dated when I said, oh, so what happened? And he was like, oh no, like, you have no insight, right? Why things didn't work out. Like, you have nothing that you think that maybe you could have done differently. Like, you guys didn't talk about it. Like, why isn't this working out? And he's like, no, just one day she just didn't want to be married. I'm like, okay, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that would be a major red flag. Yeah, you have to at least have known something. Otherwise, are you that clueless? Meaning that in a relationship, you're not going to attend to your partner's needs or see where you come to the table and add to the table. You're just sitting there waiting for it to be served. And then when you don't get it served, you're like, oh, oh no, I want to have roast beef today.
Yeah, that was such a red flag. Yeah.
So okay, so let's talk about green flag, because I know we're doing a lot of red flags. What another green flag? I like old school type of mannerisms.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I'm all for that.
Open the door, but sometimes, me, I'm just so quick to open the door for myself. So when someone's like, wait, let me get that for you, I'm like, oh, okay, because I'm not used to that, right? I like holding hands. I like being affectionate, not necessarily like we're going to be all over each other in public, but holding hands, give you a hug or whatever. I think for me, that is something I like, because that's, I like the, I don't know, physical touch type of thing, the affection.
No, I think that's a good point, because that is a display. Like, people talk about like I'm a good person. This is what I like. I like respect, but I like to be dependable. I like to be able to take care of my, my significant other. But I think, like you said, like, good manners count, and those good manners display that they do value those things, that they really are going to be respectful. They really are going to be there to, like, have your back. They really are going to be there to, take care of you or to make you feel special, like those kind of things. And I think that manners, pulling out the chair, opening the doors, they display the values.
Or even like they're asking you how your day was.
Right.
And not like, oh, good morning, good night. And then it's just like, blah, 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 right? It's kind of like, let me clock in and let me clock out, right?
Yes.
So, and I know we're doing a little bit more of like the dating, but like I would say like relationships in general, we're going back to kind of like the friends, right? Would you have a friend and then you have other friends, and I think a red flag would be if you have one that just feels excluded or jealous because other people are taking more of your time, but yet they're not putting in the effort to either engage or say, hey, let's meet up or whatnot. I think that one, that it's an insecurity for them and it's a them problem versus a me problem. Now, if I was excluding them on purpose, then I would have to have that conversation with that person as to why I feel like I don't want to invite them, right? But there are not only like when you're dating, but friends that are like, you're mine and only mine.
Yes.
And then, and I'm glad in our friend group, we don't have that. It's like, we're all friends. And if you go out to dinner with some of your friends, I'm not going to be upset. I'm like, oh, cool. Because then I know you and I will get together with the other girls, or just you and I, and I'll still have my Maria time.
Yes. No, I think that is it's important that you understand that people have relationships, because all of our relationships, I think, like, feed a need, right? Like, my personality is different from Tanya's personality or Anna Connie's personality. And so I think like, you spend time with those people because they feel a need or they make you feel good about yourself. And I think that that's good. And I think the opposite of that would be a red flag if you showed up for your friend and you felt like they spent their time criticizing you or putting you down or things like that. Like, if you feel like you're defensive all the time in that friendship or relationship, then that would be a red flag.
Or just it being one-sided.
Yes. Like, they can't show up for you.
Right. So, whether it's a partner, family member, or friend, if they can't show up for you, then you got to reevaluate that relationship. Another green flag would be, I don't want to say like they match your financial, but like, for me, I like to travel. So being able to have not only, your money to cover your bills, but to have some money, like play money, whatever, to be able to travel and not be like living check to check. Because I went, long ago, I lived check to check, and it was not fun. I didn't get to do a lot of things. But now I don't have to live check to check, and I get to enjoy traveling. So I want someone who can meet me at that level as well.
Right. I think that's a good green flag.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because a red flag for you, which may not be for everyone, but a red flag for you would be to be in a relationship with someone who's still living check to check, or who can't do anything extra. That would be a red flag for you.
Right. Or like this guy that I met, and he told me he could not travel until his son's 18. And I'm like, how old is your son? He's 10.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, definitely not. I mean,
and I don't think like red flags necessarily mean that the person is a bad person. Right. I just think like their situation doesn't match up with your situation.
Yeah, no,
or where
absolutely.
You are currently.
Yeah, because there could be great people, but we're seeking two different things. And they could be a good person for someone else with all their great qualities, but we're not matching up.
Right.
Because then we would be like I think another red flag, which just reminded me, is, and this is something that I've heard on many little, like, I don't know if it's little snippets of podcasts, is that don't be with somebody and think about the potential of what that person
Right.
can be. Right.
Yes.
And I think when we go into like our fantasy land type of thing, right, when we're dating somebody,
Right.
or even like friendships, whatever, right, we have this fantasy of how it's going to play out or how it possibly we would like it to play out. And so that's like us, you know, predicting like this is the potential I see that this person could be for me, right?
Right.
And they probably cannot meet that potential,
Right.
right? So then we're now then we date this person, we're with this person, and then they're not meeting that potential, and then we're getting all upset. But that was our own expectation that we set,
and we put it on them.
Yeah. So I think that's a red flag for either party.
Yes. Yeah. Something you have to watch within yourself. Definitely.
Yeah. And also, I think a red flag would be if we are pretty self-aware, is going in there and knowing that we can't save everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Because sometimes we want to be like, oh, but I can help them.
I can help you. I can help you get A, B, and C done, or I can help you make your situation better. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, total green flag for the person who is struggling that wants someone to take care of them, but red flag for the person who's like, I can take care of you.
Yes.
We're not looking for a mom or a dad. We already had that, right? We already dealt with that. Red flag, you still live with your parents. Yes. And you don't have a car.
And you don't have a car. Yes. Because it is one thing to show up at a date because you know that you're going to drink alcohol and you shouldn't be driving. It's another thing to show up on a date in an Uber because you don't have a car. And so that's you Uber everywhere. That's a problem.
And that's your form of transportation.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
They could do Uber share. No. And come pick you up on the date.
No.
All right. What is another green flag? I feel like we should end on a good note, on a good green flag.
Okay. So a green flag for me, in the beginning, one time, was a green flag was that he always he was like, hey, let's go out on Tuesday. Do you want to go to dinner? And I'd be like, yes. He's like, okay, I'll pick the restaurant and then I'll text you. And then he would get there early, make sure that we had a table. And then when I got there, he was usually already seated.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, nice. And then he would stand up and do all the the manner things. But his thinking was, because I know what you do for a living, I know that you make a lot of decisions all day. So this is one less decision that you have to make. Oh. And so to me, yes, that was a green flag. And I was like, oh, so he's listening, like he listens. And so he did that for however long we were together. Yeah.
That is great. Like looking at what your partner does and helping them out. So that's like coming to the table with, helping out your partner, right? Like, that your partner, like in your situation, you make, a lot of decisions, difficult decisions. And, let's say, and I'm just going to make this up, that your partner, he has a desk job where he doesn't really have to make a whole lot of like life-changing decision type of stuff. And then in his mind is like, his isn't as stressful as yours. So he wants to make life a little easier for you.
Right.
And then in turn makes you happy and him happy because you guys are both happy and taking care of each other.
Right.
That is good. I like that we ended on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening. And please ask us any questions, any feedback's good feedback for us. And then we'll see you again in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.